to announce the arrests of Sarah Clandaniel and Brandon Russell on criminal complaints for conspiring to attack our local power grid. As the criminal complaint alleges, Clandaniel and Russell conspired and took steps to shoot multiple electrical substations in the Baltimore area, aiming to, quote, completely destroy this whole city.
Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right. So what we have today is an article from Reuters, and this article talks about FBI charges to a neo-Nazi leader in a plot to attack the Baltimore power grid. All right. And clearly you didn't hear about Baltimore losing power on the news. So this was clearly an epic fail on the part of this deranged ADOSO. But what I find fascinating is that the FBI seems to be able to stop all of these crimes when they don't involve some deranged nutcase going to a Tops in Buffalo and murdering a bunch of black people. All right. So just pay very close attention to how when it comes to certain things, oh, the FBI is a hero. They're able to stop this from happening before it happens. But when it comes to the massacre of 11 people, you know, we just couldn't stop that one. So now here it says, the U.S. Justice Department has charged a neo-Nazi leader and his associate with plotting to attack Baltimore's power grid. I find that fascinating. White power was trying to cause a blackout. Oh, the irony. A plan that the FBI thwarted with the help of a confidential informant, who that confidential informant was probably one of the people who was in on the plot. Brandon Russell of Orlando, Florida, and Sarah Clandaniel from Maryland were arrested last week. Officials said in a briefing on Monday that they have been charged with conspiring to damage an energy facility. Now, I find it interesting that these people are WS, and as of right now, according to this article, I haven't seen any talk of hate crime charges. Russell is a convicted felon and the founder of a neo-Nazi group called the Atom Walking Division that works towards ushering in the collapse of civilization, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, a civil rights organization that tracks U.S. hate groups. And the Southern Poverty Law Center also likes to put an anti-black spin on certain black activists, so they're no ally either. Russell previously was sentenced to 5 years in prison after pleading guilty to possession of an unregistered destruction device and the improper storage of explosive materials. Now, let me ask you guys a question. If you go and do a search on a bunch of black people's homes, how many black people are going to have destruction devices and improper storage of explosive materials or explosive materials at all? At the time of his arrest, he was still on supervised release, according to the FBI, which leads you to ask the question, well, how did he get all this stuff? The FBI on Monday alleged that the plot was racially motivated, but did not provide details. And they didn't provide any details so that there would be no hate crime attachments, so that they can let this guy out again because he was a felon, and they let him out again, so that they could let him out again and he'll be able to do the same thing. And then they can just look past it if it's not something as outlandish. About 62% of Baltimore City residents are black, according to the U.S. Census data. Representatives for Clandaniel and Russell could not be immediately reached for comment. Clandaniel and Russell conspired and took steps to shoot multiple electrical substations in Baltimore, aiming to completely destroy the whole city, but the plans were stopped. Eron Barron, the U.S. Attorney for Maryland, said in the press briefing. Russell first came under suspicion in 2017 when his former roommate, Devin Arthurs, was arrested for murder. So, I mean, this dude really travels in a lot of degenerate circles. And again, the reason why he was targeting Baltimore was clearly because of the racial composition being 67%. But as you can see, no hate crime charges attached. And this is at the federal level that he's been arrested. And they can definitely attach on federal hate crime charges, but they're not. During his interview with the FBI, Arthur said his fellow roommates were plotting to attack U.S. infrastructure, including power lines in Florida. The information led to Russell's arrest and subsequent conviction. Now, this is fascinating, right? Because he was going to attack Ron DeSantis' state. And if Ron DeSantis doesn't come out and say that he plans to protect the people in his state from people like this, it tells you exactly what time Ron DeSantis is on. The information led to Russell's arrest and subsequent conviction. Then, starting in at least June of 2022, an FBI confidential informant started to receive encrypted messages from a user known as Homunculus, who encouraged the informant to attack electrical substations, the complaint says. In those communications over the next few months, Homunculus urged an attack when there is the greatest strain on the grid, and he noted that follow-up attacks could lead to a further cascade failure costing billions of dollars. In January of 2023, as their communications continued, a third user known as Callie 1889 joined the conversation. She said that she had compiled a list of potential targets, including Baltimore, noting that the location was literally like a life artery. According to the complaint, the account at Callie 1889 was traced to Clan Daniel, who also has an extensive criminal record, including a prior conviction for armed robbery. So she's a modern woman with a criminal record. Homunculus, meanwhile, was traced back to Russell, the FBI said. Baltimore Gas and Electric, a subsidiary of Exelon Corporation, which owns the targeted substations, said that there was no damage to any of its equipment or outages. The arrest followed recent vandalization of electrical substations that left thousands of people without power in other states, including North Carolina, South Carolina, and Washington. Now, here's my question. If you guys are watching this in the live chat, make sure you let me know if you'd heard about these power outages. If you have not heard about these power outages, let me know by giving me a thumbs down. If you know, let me know by giving me a thumbs up. If you're watching after the replay, make sure you leave it in the comment section. The motives for those attacks were not known. Thomas Sobokinski, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Baltimore office, said that the FBI was not aware of any links between the two people arrested in the alleged Baltimore plot and the attacks elsewhere on the electrical infrastructure. In Tacoma, Washington, 4 electrical substations were vandalized around Christmas, leaving 14,000 customers without power. 2 men were arrested in connection with those attacks. So my question for you guys is, were you aware of that? And when it comes to the 2 men who were arrested in relation to that, I wonder what they were up to. Also, in December, a utility in North Carolina reported outages from what local authorities said were orchestrated shootings investigated by federal law enforcement. Duke Energy Corporation, which provided power to the area, said at the time a total of 45,000 people had lost power. The FBI also investigated shots fired near a power facility in South Carolina days later. And so that's all they say here on this article from Reuters. Now, what I find fascinating is that when it comes to these people, one of the things that these people are doing is these people are attacking the power grid. And the reason why these people are attacking the power grid is because they think that they're the only ones that are able to survive in a situation where there's no power. So one thing that I would advise people to do all over the place, especially if you live in an urban area, is there's these kind of people walking around all over the place. They could be your neighbor, they could be going to school with your kids, and they could be your coworkers. Make sure that you guys have emergency contingency plans. Make sure that you have food, make sure that you have weapons, make sure that you have a network and a communication plan just in case something like this happens. Because you're going to need to feed yourself, you're going to be needing to protect yourself, and you're going to be able to need to secure the area that you're in. All right. So now here it says suspected white supremacists arrested in plot to attack power stations to destroy Baltimore, prosecutors say. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to this video and we're going to see what this guy has to say.
We are here this morning to announce the arrests of Sarah Clandaniel and Brandon Russell on criminal complaints for conspiring to attack our local power grid. As the criminal complaint alleges, Clandaniel and Russell conspired and took steps to shoot multiple electrical substations in the Baltimore area, aiming to, quote, completely destroy this whole city. But these plans were stopped thanks to the swift action and collaboration of our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners. Together, we are using every legal means necessary to keep Marylanders safe and to disrupt hate-fueled violence.
The accused were not just talking, but taking steps to fulfill their threats and further their extremist goals. Russell provided instructions and location information. He described attacking the power transformers as the greatest thing somebody can do. In her own words, Clandaniel said she was determined to do this. She added, "It would lay this city to waste." Their actions threaten the electricity and heat of our homes, hospitals, and businesses.
So now what they're not doing is they're not focusing on the fact that this was a hate crime. And the reason why this occurred was because the city's population matrix, 67% black. A Florida man and a Maryland woman have been arrested on federal charges of plotting to attack multiple energy substations with the goal of destroying Baltimore, the U.S. Department of Justice announced Monday. The suspects, Sarah Clandaniel of Cantonsville, Maryland, and Brandon Russell of Orlando, Florida, were allegedly fueled by a racist extremist ideology as they conspired to inflict maximum harm on the power grid with the aim to completely destroy Baltimore, USA. All right. Attorney Eric Barron and a top FBI official said at a Monday morning press conference. Russell is quoted in court documents saying that attacking the power transformers is the greatest thing that somebody can do. Now, let me ask you guys a question. I know a lot of you have done a lot of things in your life, and my question is, are you just waiting for that pinnacle moment of your life to occur when you can attack a power grid and be great? Or is that something that you've never in your right mind had a desire to do ever, and people that have an idea of thinking that that's the best thing to do are nuts? So now here it says he is accused of providing instructions and location information for the substations he and Clandaniel allegedly sought to target as part of their plot, federal prosecutors said. Clandaniel allegedly told an FBI confidential source that she was determined to carry out attacks aimed at Baltimore's infrastructure, saying that it would lay this city to waste. Their actions threatened the electricity and heat of our homes, hospitals, and business. And mind you, these were hate-based, yet there's no mention of hate crime attachments. Okay. So now here it says Sabinski said the two suspects had extremist views and believed that by conducting the attacks, that would bring further to light their views. Sabinski declined to go into specifics when pressed by reporters, and that's Sabinski covering for them. Russell, who is the founder of the notorious neo-Nazi group Atomwaffen, was incarcerated when he first met Clandaniel, and both were out on probation as they coordinated their attacks on the energy facilities, according to an affidavit in the case unsealed on Monday. Russell had previously pleaded guilty in 2018 to charges of possessing an unregistered destructive device and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. His arrest on those earlier charges came after a man he was living with in Tampa, Devin Arthurs, killed two of their roommates and told investigators that they had been plotting to attack a nuclear plant in Florida and other energy infrastructure. After his release from prison, Russell allegedly began communicating in June of 2022 with an FBI confidential informant he encouraged to carry out attacks against the critical infrastructure, according to the affidavit. In a conversation last October, Russell allegedly told the informant that putting holes in transformers is the greatest thing that somebody can do, the affidavit alleges. Russell allegedly instructed the informant to carry out an attack when there is greatest strain on the grid, adding when everyone is using the electricity to either heat or cool their homes, the affidavit said. In December, Russell allegedly told the informant he knew of another person in Maryland who was also going to carry out an attack on an energy facility and offered to connect the informant with Clandaniel to coordinate their attacks to maximize impact, according to the affidavit. Clandaniel allegedly told the informant she expected to die of a terminal illness in her kidneys in a few months and wanted to obtain a rifle as soon as possible to be able to carry out the attacks, according to the affidavit. She allegedly had a document on her computer referencing the mustache guy and the Unabomber, allegedly saying, "I would sacrifice everything for my people to just have a chance for our cause to succeed." Now you got to ask yourself a question, ask your neighbor, coworkers, teachers, whatever. What is the chance for your cause to succeed? All right. So now here's my question for everybody, and make sure that you guys leave a comment, whether in the live comment or in the comment section after the video. Does this guy look like Kanye West? Does this guy look like Kyrie Irving? Did they reference Kanye West? Did they reference Kyrie Irving? Those are the questions. Make sure you let me know. Also, did the ADL say anything about this guy? Haven't heard a damn thing. In a recorded conversation with the informant on January 29th, Clandaniel allegedly said she planned to target 5 substations in Baltimore on the same day, including ones in Norrisville, Registertown, and Perry Hall, according to the affidavit. Clandaniel described how there was a ring around Baltimore, and if they hit a number of them all in the same day, they would completely destroy the whole city, the affidavit alleges. Both Clandaniel and Russell were scheduled to make their initial federal court appearances on Monday. Clandaniel in Baltimore and Russell in Orlando. Clandaniel made her appearance alongside her court-appointed attorney, Kristen Hopkins, and agreed to the government's request to remain in detention until trial. This is a very serious development that suggests that the far-right threat inside the United States, and specifically the neo-Nazi white nationalist threat, is still very acute. I mean, we have them right in Washington, so I don't understand why anybody's surprised about this. Javeed Ali, the former senior director of counterterrorism at the National Security Council, told ABC News her preliminary hearing is set for February 15th. The arrests come after a series of attacks on energy substations nationwide, including one in December in North Carolina that left 45,000 utility customers without electricity for days and prompted local officials to declare a state of emergency. The Department of Homeland Security has warned about similar attacks recently. A National Terrorism Advisory System bulletin issued on November 30th said individuals and groups motivated by a range of ideological beliefs and personal grievances continue to pose a persistent and lethal threat to Homeland Security. So now here's my question. What does the profile of those people look like? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Power grids targets have long been the focus of domestic extremists here in the United States. Ali, now professor at the Ford School of Public Policy, told ABC News. Ironically, the Ford School of Public Policy, Ford, Henry Ford. That guy got an award from the people that these people worship. But anyway, this perception of vulnerability is fairly easy to walk up close to one unless it's guarded with a lot of perimeter security. Other extremists in the past have thought about different ways of attacking energy targets in the United States, whether through explosive devices, small arms attacks, or some combination of those. In January, 2 men were arrested in Tacoma, Washington, and charged with conspiracy to damage energy facilities and possession of an unregistered firearm. Prosecutors said the suspects attacked 4 substations in the Tacoma area, causing more than $3 million in damage. In February of 2022, 3 men, Christopher Brenner Cook, Jonathan Allen Frost, and Jackson Matthew Sawwell, pleaded guilty in federal court in Columbus, Ohio, to crimes related to a scheme to attack power grids in the United States in furtherance of white supremacist ideology. Now, here's my question. How many of you guys heard about this? And my question is also, if we keep talking about these people are the most persistent and consistent threat to Homeland Security, why isn't this being talked about? As part of the conspiracy, each man was assigned a substation in a different region of the United States to attack with rifles, believing that their plan would cost the government millions of dollars, cause unrest for Americans, and even prompt a race war, federal prosecutors said, which I don't know why these people really want to start a race war. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I'm just putting this out there. A race war would be a suicide request, and it wouldn't be us who would be granted that suicide. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you guys smash that like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Make sure that you subscribe to all my backup channels. If you guys enjoy the content and know other people that would like it, make sure you shoot this message to them in a tweet or in a text message, and I will catch you all on the next video. All right? Peace.